Welcome back to the Blue Chip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the matchup between the Tennessee Volunteers defense and the Georgia Bulldogs offense. Let's go ahead and start off with the numbers. All right, so starting off with total defense, Tennessee is ranked the number 39th total defense in the country, giving up 3,406 yards. That's 340 yards per game, about 5 yards per play. We are also the number 29th defense in scoring in the country, giving up about 20 points per game. Georgia's offense is number 5 in the country in total offense with 5,048 yards. That's 504.8 yards per game, about 7.3 yards per play. They're the number 6th offense in the country in scoring with 40.6 points per game. Now for the rushing numbers, Tennessee is ranked the number 24th rushing defense in the country, giving up 1,131 yards. That's 113 yards per game, 3.17 yards per play, and 11 touchdowns. Georgia is ranked the number 38th rushing offense in the country with 1,809 yards on the season. That's 180.9 yards per game, 5.26 yards per play, and 28 touchdowns rushing. All right, now on to the passing numbers. Tennessee is ranked number 69 in the country in pass defense, giving up 2,275 yards. That's 227.5 yards per game. And we've given up 9 touchdowns and we have 10 interceptions. We are also number 7 in sacks in the country with 33 sacks. That's good for 3.3 sacks per game. And Georgia's passing offense is ranked number 6 in the country with 3,239 yards, 323.9 yards per game, 20 touchdowns, and they only have 6 interceptions on the season. They are also ranked number 7th in the country in sacks given up with only 9. So that's 0.9 sacks per game. So that's less than a sack per game that they've given up. All right, so last 2 stats coming up right here. Third down, defense and offense. Tennessee is number 50 in the country, 36.9% conversion rate given up. And Georgia's offense is ranked number 1 in the country with 55.6% conversion rates. Red zone offense and defense, Tennessee is ranked number 75 in the country, giving up 84.4% of scores in the red zone. 15 of those are touchdowns, 12 of those are field goals on 32 attempts. 9 of those are rushing, and 6 of those touchdowns are passing. Georgia is ranked number 15th in the country, and they are converting at 93%. They have 37 touchdowns, 16 field goals on 57 attempts. 26 of those touchdowns are rushing, and 11 of those touchdowns are passing. All right, so looking at this matchup on paper, Georgia has the edge in pretty much every single category except for rushing and pass rush. So the pass rush is a push. We're both ranked number 7, but rushing, Tennessee can find some success stopping Georgia's run game. That's going to be a key part to this game. We'll get to that a little bit later. Did want to touch on some of these key players for Georgia though, because they've got a lot of them. They've got a lot of depth, 20 some odd 5-stars to R1, maybe 2 if you try to count James Pierce, who was a 5-star, I think, on one site, but outside of that, he was a 4-star. Gonna have to get kind of creative and, do a whole lot of things to be able to overcome how much depth Georgia has on offense and defense. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of Georgia's key players. All right, so the first guy is obviously going to be their quarterback, number 15, Carson Beck. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. He has 3,022 yards on the season passing, completing 68.4% of his passes. He has 18 touchdowns, and he's only thrown 5 interceptions. He also has 3 rushing touchdowns, and he throws about 23 passes per game. Now, Beck is pretty much the prototype for a pro-style quarterback, okay? Pretty much everyone on this entire team is going to be like the prototype for what you want, wherever they're playing at, okay? Carson Beck is really, he takes good care of the football, okay? He's very accurate, he's on time, but I have seen him get flustered with some pressure, okay? Whenever he's getting a little bit of pressure, if it's on a consistent basis, even if we're not sacking him, we can get him flustered and he starts to miss a lot of his reads. That's what we're going to have to do in this game, whether it's with our front 4 or whether it's blitzing. I think that Coach Banks is going to have to get continuous pressure on Carson Beck because, like I just said, they've got a lot of pieces, a whole lot of players that they can get this football to, and getting pressure on him is going to be absolutely critical. All right, and the next guy is going to be Brock Bowers. He's number 19, 6'4", 240 pounds. He has 44 catches on the season, which is more than anyone else on this team, 601 yards, 5 touchdowns, 13.7 yards per catch. He gets about 5.5 catches per game. Okay, so I just did a whole video talking about Brock Bowers and how Georgia likes to use him, how I think that he is overhyped. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think that he's a good tight end, because he is. He might be the best tight end in this country, maybe. But my whole thing is they use him in ways that gives him a lot of success, okay? There's so many other moving pieces to their offense. It's hard to just key in on one guy. He's gonna get the ball at the line of scrimmage a lot, and they're gonna give him a whole lot of room and a whole lot of blockers to be able to make plays. Whenever he does go down the football field, it's usually in the middle, okay? So you've got to be careful in those zones, especially whenever Georgia has 6 to 7 people staying into block. Our linebackers have to do a great job of not just staying stagnant in one spot. Don't cover grass like P always says. Find somebody, drop to depth, and make sure that you're getting in those passing lanes to try to interrupt Brock Bowers and some of these other playmakers that Georgia has on offense from being able to get those passes across the middle of the football field. All right, next guy is a wide receiver. He's number 6, and his name is Dominic Lovett. He's 5'10", 179 pounds. He has 43 catches on the season, 475 yards with 2 touchdowns, 11 yards per catch, and he gets about 4.3 catches per game. All right, now Dominic is a smaller, faster guy. He's utilized in the slot a lot. They will, throw it to him on some wide receiver screens. Actually, in that South Carolina game, he pretty much is the guy who took over for Georgia in that second half, after they were down 14-3 to the terrible South Carolina Gamecocks. Okay, they did a whole lot of motioning him over with a blocker or two out there to kind of help him out, motion him over and throw the football to him and just let him get yards. Okay, so he is a guy that you have got to keep a close eye out on. All right, he's very similar to what we saw last week. We just have got to come up and make tackles. Okay, we got to play inside out, play with excellent leverage, and we should be able to kind of slow him down. But he is tough. Everyone on this team is tough, and we're just going to have to play sound fundamental football. But he's a guy that we definitely are going to have circled in our keys to the game on defense, and guys that we need to try to slow down or stop if we can. All right, so the next guy is Ladd McConkey. He's number 84. He's 6 feet tall, 185 pounds. He plays wide receiver. He has 26 catches on the season, 418 yards, 2 touchdowns, 16.1 yards per catch, and he gets about 4.3 catches per game. All right, so Ladd is a guy that missed a couple of games this season, but he is a quick, fast guy. He plays tough. He has really good hands, great concentration watching the football into his hands. They like to isolate him, one-on-one. They'll have him on one side by himself, and then they want to go double move. Okay, we'll see. Play action, 6, 7 guys in there blocking, and they're going to double move you, okay? And they're just going to try to hit him deep. They've done that several times. They did that to us last year. I think it was Slaughter was covering him. That was a big play for them early on in that game. We just have got to make sure that with everything that we're talking about today, that we have watched film and that we've studied them, because Georgia has a whole lot of tendencies that it's pretty easy to pick up on what they're trying to do. Just trust your film study and we should be fine. All right, and the last guy that we're going to talk about today is number 30, Dejon Edwards. He's 5'10", 201 pounds. He plays running back. He has 123 carries on the season for 692 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5.6 yards per carry, and he gets about 15 carries per game. All right, so Dejon is the starting running back. Okay, they've got several guys that can go for sure. All right, but he is the starter. He runs hard. He's very patient. Again, everyone on this team is going to play with great fundamentals, and we're just going to come up, fill our gaps, fill our lanes, and make sure that we wrap him up. He's going to run hard. Okay, he's going to try to run through contact. We have got to be strong. We've got to hold on to him and allow for our other teammates to get in on the tackles to try to minimize his yardage as much as possible. All right, so we took a look at the numbers and some of the key players for Georgia. Obviously, there was a lot more that I could have put on that list, but just for the sake of time and for this video, I didn't put everybody. They've got a lot of weapons, okay? There's a lot of people that we have to kind of look out for, but whenever things like that happen, what you want to do is you just want to play sound fundamental football. And I talked about this in the video, whenever we were touching on Brock Bowers. We've got to play fundamentally sound, okay? Now, the one thing that I can say about Georgia is that their offense is very predictable. You know what's coming. We've talked about this in previous videos. Coming into the week, the players are going to get all the information that you could possibly get on the offense or defense that they're playing up against that weekend. And, a lot of times you see those tendencies, right? So let's just say on average, we'll be able to get about a 75% to maybe like 80%. This is what the play is going to be based off of the down and distance and the way that the offense is lined up. Georgia's is going to be way higher than that. It's going to be 90% plus. So you know what's coming based off of how they line up, down a distance, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of things that kind of go into that, but it's a lot more simple than I'm probably making it sound, okay? Whole point is Tennessee's defensive players are going to know what's coming. The question is, Will they step up, and will they fill those gaps, fill those lanes, and will they make plays? This is going to be a very, very physical football game. Our linebackers played terrible last week. Okay, we were slow to the punch. We've got to be fast to the punch this week, and we've got to hit people right in the mouth. We're gonna have to take on blocks sometimes. Okay, we're gonna have to, come in and hit running backs head on with a full head of steam sometimes. And we're gonna have to do it over and over and over again for 60 minutes. And if we can do that on a consistent basis, that gives us a great opportunity to be able to win this game. Now, as far as coverages, I think that based off of the way that, Georgia plays offense, man would probably be the best coverage for us to play. Carson Beck is a guy that will run if everything kind of breaks down, but he doesn't want to run. He's a pass first guy, and a lot of what they do is just timing, okay? He already knows where he's going to go pre-snap, okay? He'll look it off one way, and he's going right to somebody that's usually wide open. All right, so linebackers have got to drop to depth. We've got to get pass rush, but I would say that the first thing that we have to do in this game is stop Georgia's running game. Maybe not stop it, but at least slow it down. Try to, make them want to pass the football a lot more. This offense is very balanced, okay? They're about 50% run, 50% pass, but if we can stop that run first and just make them have to, keep on passing and passing, same thing that I say every single week. We can start to pin our ears back, dial up pressure, and get to Carson Beck. If we can just get a little bit of pressure, even, again, if we're not getting all the way home on that pressure, if we make Carson Beck feel pressure on a consistent basis, he is not going to go through all of his reads. He's going to want to get that football out of his hands early. And from there, again, knowing their tendencies very well, we know what the first read is. We can start to bait them into some interceptions. All right, and we don't have to worry about, all these players coming out to the flats and everything else, because a lot of times, most of the players, in Georgia's offense, they are decoys. Carson Beck does not really have that many reads. He might have, 2 or 3 reads, but a lot of times you'll see 4 or 5 guys going out on routes. Those, last 2 or 3 guys are decoy guys. The ball really is not supposed to go there. He only really goes there if the play completely and totally breaks down. They're just like a last resort option. So, saying a whole lot just to say that if we just play fundamentally sound, if we take a look at, if we know what they're going to do based off of film and study and things like that, then we'll have automatic coverages, we'll have automatic blitzes, things like that kind of dialed up to kind of start this game off. If we can keep this game relatively close early on, all right, and, at least if we don't let Georgia score too many points early on, that gives our offense an opportunity to be able to put up some points, get Georgia into a hole before that depth kind of starts to creep in later on in the game, which is what has happened to most of the teams that Georgia has played. Their depth has won them games because teams just kind of get burnt out, right? So sometimes teams are just beating them in that first quarter, first half. After that, Georgia comes out, makes a couple of subtle changes, but, now that defense or that offense, everyone on the other team is tired. Georgia can rotate in bodies on bodies on bodies. So it's going to be very, very critical for Tennessee to come out and make a stand early on in this game. All right. Feel like we can do it. I feel like we can coach to that. I feel like our players are going to be up to that challenge. I know that they are embarrassed after the way that they played last weekend. So hoping that that is what happens in this game. And y'all let me know y'all's thoughts down in the comments section. But thank y'all as always for tuning in. Please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.